What is an exchange of contracts and what does that mean for my New South Wales purchase matter? When we refer to an exchange of contracts, we're talking about the signing of contracts. Why it's called an exchange is because traditionally the purchaser would sign one contract with an agent or with their solicitor, and the vendor would sign one contract with the solicitor or the agent. And once the parties have agreed on a price, they've signed a contract, what would happen is the purchaser signed contract would go to the vendor solicitor, and the vendor signed contract would go to the purchaser solicitor. And this is what's called an exchange. Along with a deposit being paid, that is what is required to make the contract binding. Let's put this in another way. What will happen is, if you're buying a property in New South Wales, you'll generally put an offer to an agent. You'll say, look, I want to buy that property for $1 million. The agent may then say, yes, the vendor agrees to accept your offer. What I would like you to do is now sign the contract. So the agent, most commonly these days, will send you a contract for sale via DocuSign to sign electronically. But they'll also ask you for things like your full name, your address, your solicitor or conveyance's details, so that they can fill all that information out so it's ready for exchange. They'll also ask you to pay either a 0.25% deposit, that's 1/4%, or a 5 or 10% deposit into the real estate's trust account. Then, after you've signed the contract, you paid the deposit, they'll get the vendor to sign the contract, and then the agent can facilitate exchange of contracts, meaning they'll date the contract, that makes it binding, and both parties enter into a 5 business day or 10 business day cooling off period. This is for the purchaser to do any further due diligence and be satisfied with the property. You pay for the privilege to take the property off the market. That means, as a purchaser, you've got the right to cancel the contract. In most cases, vendors don't have that right in New South Wales. Unless there's a breach of contract, the vendor cannot change their mind. So, all of these items being done is an exchange of contracts, and that's what we mean. Do you have any questions about this? Have you come across this in New South Wales? Let me know in the comments.